And now to tell us the story of tonight's WWF Undisputed match, Drowning Pool. And all they did was sing Tearaway while a video package played on the Titantron, just like earlier.
Because DDP had this, I don't know, overly positive gimmick.
Oh, he did.
In his short stint in WWE. I don't know. He did not last long in WWE.
No.
And if you see that, you know why.
Watching this match, right? And this is a fantastic match. This is probably my favorite Undertaker WrestleMania match to this point. And I'm watching this match, I'm like, this is a classic. How the fuck are people not putting this on the same level as the Triple H one, the Shawn Michaels one?
As I said before, Hogan, he was doing everything he can to be such a dastardly heel, hitting him with a hammer, crashing into the into the ambulance thereafter. Like, he's trying to be a heel, he's trying to get booed. And then he gets into the match and he's over as hell. So with all that said, would you think they may have called an audible and had Hogan win this match?
Well, let's get in our wrestling rewind.
And this is the retro review of WrestleMania.
WrestleMania X8, or 18, if you want to be technical. Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And fucking Saliva plays a song. And it was Superstar from their album. And I want to shit all over it, but I can't. It was awesome. And if you were observant, you can get all the cliff notes from the storylines we're going to go into from the little Titantron video that they played in the background.
That's what I was paying attention to, because that song wasn't missed for me.
Really?
Maybe it's just because of it was live and I don't know the context of what the song actually sounds like in studio.
We've heard it. We were sitting in my car while I had their one CD that they've had.
Well, I have to hear it again.
That's
just right now I can't even think of who Saliva is.
Click, click, boom!
Oh. Well, why didn't they play that song? Why they go trying to play new songs?
Because this was their hit at the time.
Oh, there you go.
Well, after that, they play an epic WrestleMania video package. Different wrestlers do a voiceover. And a bunch of WrestleMania legends have returned by this point. So it's cool that they got to do the nostalgic shit. It's like Hogan and Hall.
Yeah.
And others. Can't remember who was in it. I probably would have aired this before the Saliva part personally. But I don't run WrestleMania. So it officially starts and Drowning Pool plays. And man, Vince really opened the checkbook for this WrestleMania. And Ross and Lawler are on commentary. And the first match of the evening is RVD versus Lord Steven Regal. It's for the Intercontinental title. And Regal comes out waving like a pompous British asshole. RVD doesn't let Regal get into the ring. RVD whips Regal's ass with a series of kicks. Regal lands a couple of punches or forearms and starts digging at his dick. Turns out he has brass knuckles, or knucks. Regal goes to nail RVD, then RVD kicks him out of Regal's hand. Then RVD lands a couple more kicks on Regal, then goes for a 5-star frog splash and misses. Then it turns into a pretty straightforward match. Interesting watching RVD get superplexed personally, although I know he wrestled Taz, so this was probably like nothing compared to that. But I'm just used to seeing all the flips and the kicks and shit. I'm not used to seeing RVD take a whole lot of offense.
Yeah, he was a great sell.
Regal and RVD's mouths were busted open. And I thought this was going to be a total stylist clash, but RVD's kick offense worked really well with Regal's punch you in the face type of, moveset. And Regal hits a nasty half Nelson suplex on RVD. RVD sold it beautifully, like his eyes rolled into the back of his head.
RVD rolled out. Dropped on the back of his head.
Yeah.
I just saw him folded up.
He did fold up, and yeah, he sold it beautifully. And RVD rolled out of the ring, but Regal went after him and threw him back in. Then Regal takes the time to pick up the brass knuck from earlier. And it was all for nothing because the referee immediately sees him and takes the knucks away. And Regal then digs into his penis and pulls out a second pair of brass knucks. Then Regal turns around, RVD kicks him in the face, then hits him with a frog splash, 1, 2, 3. If Regal had a second pair of brass knuckles, then why the fuck did he waste all that time getting the first pair?
They were a decoy. He was playing such a smart game that he was going to get the ref to take out the first brass knuck, and then he was going to use the second brass knuck. It's the old get one chair so that the ref can take the chair and then get another chair and decoy?
Oh no, the ref could have taken the second pair, and then Regal could have got the first pair,
But you got to go out of the ring to get the other pair.
which is what he did.
He was already out of the ring.
Well, yeah,
He
you
was
can
getting
work it
back
to where
in the
you
ring when he grabbed it.
get out of the ring and casually go get it. Maybe he goes and ties his shoe.
Okay.
Christian's interviewed by Lillian Garcia, and Christian has some sort of Tourette's where he keeps grinning like a dumb idiot. And Lillian says Christian's facing a former mentor in DDP. And then they play a video package to bring everybody up to speed. In the video, DDP helped Christian beat Billy Gunn, who's been hanging around Chuck Palumbo and Goldust at this point. I assume Goldust because that's the only thing that explains it. Christian ends up attacking DDP, and it's a pretty straightforward video, actually. And Christian says after using DDP to get back into the winner's circle, he doesn't need him anymore. And he says he's a huge star now, which is why he decided he doesn't need Toronto anymore either. And he moved to Florida. Christian says he's in touch with his emotions and he's ready to be a champion of Europe. And then he smiles again. And he smiled so wide and so over dramatically, his lips started quivering. And Lillian Garcia was awful.
Okay. The smile was him making fun of DDP's gimmick.
Okay.
Because DDP had this, I don't know, overly positive gimmick
Oh, he did.
in his short stint in WWE. I don't know. He did not last long in WWE.
No.
And if you see that, you know why. They didn't treat him as the superstar that he was. As like Vince McMahon wanted his own WCW people to be stars, not the ones that were already made. I don't even think he won. Did he win a world title? No. In
DDP?
WWE? Yeah.
No. He won the European title. That's the closest.
Yeah. Not a long stint.
No. So Christian versus DDP for the European title. Christian comes out to his good theme music, and he specifically requested that his hometown be listed as Tampa instead of Toronto. DDP came out, and I have no idea what Vince did to him. He looked like he borrowed Rey Mysterio's pants. He's smiling like a kid diddler. Whatever DDP had in WCW just left there.
Vince stripped him down.
Oh my God. Yeah, and like you said, the smiling and the facial hair was the worst part.
Oh, the goatee thing?
Yeah. And he had short hair. Just awful. So yeah, the match was a match. DDP did a gut wrench gut buster thing that was pretty cool. And Christian countered a diamond cutter with his implant. And DDP finally hit a diamond cutter 1, 2, 3. So at least that was protected. And DDP didn't get much of a reaction. After the match, DDP grabbed a mic, commended Christian for not losing his temper and his losing effort, which prompted Christian to lose his temper. And he threw a temper tantrum. It was a proper temper tantrum where he was rolling around and kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
And DDP left through the crowd, and he had issues finding somewhere to stand so he could do his little DDP sign.
I didn't even notice that part.
Oh, I did. He went to the left and like he couldn't fucking stand. He kept falling off. So then he went to the right.
If I'm being honest, I lost track of him when he went into the crowd.
That's fair.
I didn't even see him. Like they said, he's moving through the crowd, and I didn't see him at all.
But yeah, even
he didn't look like a wrestler anymore with that short hair, and he just looked like a normal dude.
Well, even when DDP was wrestling Johnny B. Bad as a nobody in WCW, he looked better presented than what we saw at WrestleMania X8.
Sure did. He looked like a wrestler back then.
Well, the coach is with The Rock, and coach starts saying how this is the biggest match of Rock's career. He's wrestling Hogan, of course. And Rock interrupts coach, says this match will determine the greatest to ever do it. Rock says Hogan asked him on Raw, what you going to do when Hulkamania runs wild on you? Rock says, I want you to run wild, Hogan. I want you in all of your Hulkamania glory. And then Rock makes coach pray.
Yep, he asked coach, have you taken your vitamins? Well, yeah, I did. Have you said your prayers? Well, I was in a hurry. It's always a good time to say your prayers. Go ahead and say your prayers. And then coach says, what up, G? And The Rock stops him at that point. What in the blue hell was that? What up, G? And then literally kicks him out of the area backstage there. And then cuts the rest of his promo. It was funny. I laughed.
Well, Goldust faced Maven for the hardcore title, and Goldust is back to normal. And I'm not going to lie, I expected him to reveal a set of tits and a strap on when he took his robe off. It wasn't like they're going to get me somehow. And it was actually a pretty good match. Goldust was the veteran, Maven was the inexperienced rookie, and it showed. And for some reason, Goldust had gold trash cans and a gold shovel.
Ah, the golden shovel.
But I especially like the spot where Goldust stomped the head of the shovel so the handle whipped into Maven's throat.
Yeah.
Like Wile E. Coyote or some shit. Goldust actually showed a killer side, and I could believe this version of Goldust competing for something better than a crummy hardcore title. Especially like when he had Maven in the corner, he's just beating the fuck out of him. And hitting him and hitting him and hitting him. And you just see this look of rage on his face.
He's probably upset that he had to do this.
Probably. So Goldust leaves. He gets a gold trash can lid, even though there was one already in the ring. I think it was actually right by his foot when he decided to get the other one. And it turns out so they can do a dueling trash can lid spot. And then fucking Spike Dudley comes in while both men are down. He pins Maven, steals the hardcore title. Crash Holly came out to chase off Spike. Goldust and Maven followed after that.
What a crazy way to end the hardcore match. And surely that's going to be the last hardcore segment of WrestleMania.
Thank God for that. And now to tell us the story of tonight's WWF Undisputed match, Drowning Pool. And all they did was sing Tearaway while a video package played on the Titantron, just like earlier.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. Oh, yeah, they're going to tell us the story of this rivalry and proceed to say not one word about it.
Right, they just sang one of their songs.
Yeah.
I was too busy listening to the song to give a fuck about the video. I gathered Triple H and Stephanie are fighting. That was about it.
Yeah, Stephanie apparently has joined the forces with Jericho. So, yeah, her and Triple H are feuding. I felt kind of bad for Drowning Pool on this one. The crowd couldn't give two shits about that song.
I couldn't tell if they were cheering or not.
It didn't look like they were. It just looks like they were just there, like waiting for it to be over.
I enjoyed it.
Now, it's not even a bad song. As a matter of fact, it's a good song. But yeah, that crowd didn't care about it.
It was a good song. It was also awesome seeing Dave Williams performing, even though it was at a WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So Spike and Crash Holly are fighting. And I didn't realize it was this soon. Al Snow tries to kill him with a golf cart. Spike tries to get away. Hurricane whooshes in swinging on a cable. He knocks out Spike and then wins the hardcore title. Hurricane does the superhero pose, then whooshes out of sight. Like literally whooshes. There's a whoosh sound effect.
Is it a sound effect or was it him?
Either he made the sound effect or they played a sound effect. There was a sound effect.
Yes. Well, he's a superhero.
And Al Snow came bumbling back into the scene.
Hardcore segment number 2 of the night.
Yes.
WrestleMania, by the way.
WrestleMania X8. Kurt Angle versus Kane. And before the match, Angle grabs a mic and says if he won a gold medal like Canada did, he'd shoot himself in the head. This is dated. I don't know what the story is with Canada and their gold medals. Angle didn't get his medal by complaining until someone gave him one. He won it the old-fashioned way because he's the big red, white, and blue machine.
And there's some faint "you suck" chants. So they're starting to...
I can't believe he stole Gable's gimmick.
Yeah.
So this was pretty hard-hitting. Both men proved to be evenly matched, so there's like a lot of back and forth. Angle does Benoit's rolling German suplexes. That hits Kane with a clothesline from the top. Angle starts to feel himself, even woos. So he goes for another one. But Kane catches him on the way down with a clothesline of his own. Kane starts to gain momentum, hits Angle with a giant power slam. He grabs Angle by the throat, delivers a humongous choke slam, and it looks like that's all she wrote. But Angle just barely gets the back of his hand on the rope, which is great. Kane signals for a tombstone. Angle reverses it, tries to rip Kane's mask off. Angle hits Kane with an angle slam while Kane's fucking with his mask, but it's only a 2 count. Angle pissed, drops the singlets, gets Kane in an ankle lock. Kane fights out of it. So Angle gets him in it again. It's a trope, but I love when they fight out of the ankle lock, so they just get him in it again. It's like, well, fuck you. You're going to tap to this.
And go back to the well.
So Kane eventually fights the ropes, then delivers a giant enziguri to Angle. And that surprisingly was not the finish. It looked like he swung like a tree at Angle's head. And Kane goes for a top rope clothesline. Angle turns around and on instinct runs and catches Kane and does basically an arm drag. The Angle goes for another Angle slam. Kane counters and goes for a choke slam. And then Angle counters into a roll up. And then Angle gets the awkward pin with his feet on the ropes. And Kane's shoulder was also up. And JR was all over that shit. His shoulder's up. Got another controversy.
Yep. Got caught. Did Kane.
This is a good match, though. You're
Yeah.
surprised that Kane lost?
Yeah. Because, like, how's Angle going to beat Kane when his move is a ankle lock?
Well, it's also the Angle slam.
Well, he hadn't started. Well, now he has, but I didn't think he had started it yet.
The Angle slam was his first move. The ankle lock was his second move.
Oh, you're right. But yeah, I still thought Kane was going to win this going into the review here. So I was surprised.
I wasn't surprised that Angle won. In fact, I was expecting him to win. I was more surprised, or I was more looking forward to seeing how Angle was going to wrestle Kane. Because Angle is a wrestler, right? And Kane is basically the Undertaker 2.0. So just that difference in style. And it worked. Right. They just beat the fuck out of each other.
They did mention something on commentary, though, that I found. Well, they mentioned 2 things. One, Kurt Angle, I believe they said he was the first Grand Slam champion, and it took him 2 years to do it. So he won every title that they had at the time. Second, they said that he tapped out Kane.
He did, yeah.
Amazing information to find out. So I didn't think Kane ever tapped out in his career.
He was the only man to tap out Kane at that point.
Yeah, didn't think it happened.
Well, then he takes his mask off, and then all bets are off.
Yeah, he can tap out at that point.
So the Hurricane's back.
Number 3.
He's sneaking, and he grabs a broom for some reason. He just sees a broom. I'll grab that. And a group of hoes come in, so Hurricane does what comes natural to him and hides. The hoes then start talking about their tits, and Hurricane holds the broom up like it's a dick. And Godfather comes in, chases off the Hurricane, and then he checks on the hoe's well-being. And he even goes, I hate him.
I don't know.
Messing with my hose.
I found it funny.
Okay.
I don't know why I laughed, but him getting that boner depicted by the broomstick because the hoes were changing. You know, because the one hoe kept saying, they're definitely too big, talking about her tits. And then, yeah, the broomstick starts to raise. And it was even like he twitched it up. He didn't just like straight raise it. He like twitched it up like it's a penis.
I don't know. I thought it was dumb.
I don't know why I laughed at it, to be honest, but it is.
I don't know why this.
The Godfather going back there, and there's that moment where he's jacking off the broomstick. I don't know.
I just don't know why this grown ass man is hiding from hoes and getting a boner.
Because
they're hoes. That's what they do.
Well, I can understand the boner, but
if there's anybody that you could just like, you know, grab and fuck, it would be a hoe. So for you to just hide so you can get your little broom erection, that's stupid.
I don't know why I laughed at it.
Yeah, whatever. Undertaker Flair had a video package, and Flair's the co-owner of the company somehow. And Taker wants to use a pipe on the Rock one night, and Flair comes out to use the pipe on Taker instead. So Taker wants a match with Flair, and Flair says no. So Taker says he's going to change Flair's mind. So Taker kills Arn Anderson and David Flair, and Flair's seen punching himself in the head, so you know it's serious. And Taker, he just punches himself in the head with like a retard. Taker and Flair brawl. Flair ends up decking a fan. The fan presses charges, and Flair gets arrested. The WWF ends up holding a meeting in which Vince says that he should be in control of the WWF since Flair's a competitor now. No mention of striking the fan, by the way. And Linda's there to ask Flair if he still intends to wrestle the Undertaker. Flair says, "You bet your ass I am." Linda says, "Then you leave us no choice but to grant full control of the WWF to Vince McMahon until after WrestleMania when we review these decisions." And Flair gets up and gets in McMahon's face and says he's settling it with Undertaker no matter the cost. McMahon later makes the match a no disqualification. And Taker tells Flair that he needs to pack a lunch for WrestleMania because he's going to whoop his ass. And again, no mention of the fan that Flair struck or his arrest.
I think they said he didn't press charges.
Oh, okay. I thought the guys... All right, whatever. I just know that they're like, "Oh, you're wrestling. We got to strip you of your power," even though you decked a fan. No mention of that in this fucking board meeting.
Well, we didn't get to see the whole thing. So maybe they did mention it.
So Flair versus The Undertaker. And true to his word, the match is set up as a no disqualification by Vince McMahon. So when it's all said and done, now that we can look back on his career, this might be my favorite version of The Undertaker. The spooky dead man stuff was great, but I like seeing Taker sell moves and just be a wrestler. I like that he talks shit.
He got the advantage. He was like, "Now it's time to learn."
Right. Now we're going to school.
Yeah.
There was a series of chops that Flair gave, and one chop that Taker just screamed his head off, and you wouldn't get that with the dead man.
Yeah, that's true.
It was just great. So it started off as just a straight up fight. Flair hit the ring and he actually just crawled to the Undertaker. Like, he was just so pissed off. And they basically just took turns beating the shit out of each other. I like when Flair had Taker in the corner with the punches. Then he stops to woo. He's like, "Woo!" Then Taker just grabs him by the throat and does his punches. Taker hit a giant power slam and established that he's out to hurt Flair by pulling Flair up at a 2 count. And Flair is bleeding profusely by this point, of course. The funny thing is Taker has like this little shaving cut on his cheek. There's blood, but compared to Flair, the crimson mask.
Yeah, King was like, "You talk about Flair. What about the bravery the Undertaker has? Look at that cut." He's going to need stitches.
Taker goes to do old school. He starts to say that Flair ain't nothing but a piece of shit, but stops short because Flair just arm drags him off the rope, which is great. Taker ends up trying to use a pipe he had hiding in his motorcycle, but Flair beats him to it and starts working over Taker with it. By this point, Taker is bleeding. And Flair also uses a keep off sign on Taker's skull. It's the same keep off sign that they used last year. And they fight back to the ring. Flair starts wailing on Taker. It looks like Taker's done for, but then he grabs Flair by the throat. Now it looks like Flair is done for. And Taker gives Flair a glare, and then Flair just kicks Undertaker straight in the dick. Flair gets Taker in the figure 4, loudest pop of the match. And it was great when, because the crowd, they just lose their shit when Flair gets the figure 4. Then they just start to kind of subside. And as soon as it subsides, all you can hear is the Undertaker just screaming at the top of his lungs in pain. It was fucking awesome. And then you realize he was doing that the entire time. So just imagine, and then it just gets quiet, and you still hear the ah. So then Undertaker fights out of the figure 4 with a choke slam, and this is where it starts to get okay. I'm watching this match, right? And this is a fantastic match. This is probably my favorite Undertaker WrestleMania match to this point. And I'm watching this match, I'm like, this is a fucking classic. How the fuck are people not putting this on the same level as the Triple H ones or the Shawn Michaels one? But then Taker got out of the fucking figure 4 by just grabbing Flair's throat. And then Flair lets go. He does a choke slam. Flair kicks out of the choke slam. Taker starts beating the shit out of Flair and covers him again. Flair kicks out. And just like last year, Taker kicks the referee's ass because his opponent kicked out. And then Taker goes for the lead pipe from earlier. Flair fights off the Taker before he can use it, then shoots him into the ropes. And then in comes Arn Anderson with a spine buster. And just like in WCW, Arn Anderson's interference does dick because Taker kicked out. throws Flair out of the ring, and then he kills Anderson. And Taker gets Anderson in a dragon sleeper, and Flair comes in with a chair for the save. Taker just kicks Flair in the face after being pummeled with a chair forever and getting a spine buster from Arn Anderson. And Taker just goes for a last ride. He got Flair up really awkwardly, and he just set him back down. And he tried to go for it again, and then Flair just flopped down. So Taker just shakes his head, smiles in the camera like this clusterfuck of a finish was all going according to the plan. And he tombstones Flair 1, 2, 3.
I like the little laugh he gave when he couldn't get Flair up in the last ride.
Yeah.
There's like that little chuckle he gave. Good on them for, switching it. It wasn't happening. And even JR said on commentary, both men are just spent.
Right. So yeah, this is the best Taker match so far as WrestleMania goes. Just how he got out of the figure four. Flair's beating the shit out of him with a chair, and all he does is kicks him in the face. It's like, I almost want to say Flair should have won because of all that shit that just happened.
He definitely should have won. Especially the spine buster spot and the chair. But we knew, and they're really heavy on the streak this time. He's 10-0.
Right.
So we knew he wasn't losing.
Well, for good measure, Taker decapitated the ref with a clothesline after his hand was raised, and yeah, Undertaker acknowledges that he's 10-0.
I did enjoy the match, though.
I did too, and
I didn't look too much into it.
Got goofy. Got really goofy. It was really bad when Flair is just beating the shit out of Taker with the chair, and then Taker just kicks Flair in the face. It's like, motherfucker, are you invincible?
He shook it off.
So Michael Cole interviewed Booker T. I guess Edge stole a Japanese commercial from Booker, and has also been calling him stupid. So they decided to have a match. Also, to prove Edge wrong, he wore glasses and talked about how smart he was. I also think he mentioned beating Edge somewhere in all of the promo stuff that he did.
Yeah, he talked about the Einstein's theory of relatives was his thesis. I guess the positive parts of this is we got the 5-time thing.
Did we get the 5-time? Oh,
yeah.
He said 5-time, but he didn't do that. He didn't do it.
Yeah, but this is the start of it. But I was thinking, this is what got me to that comparison of like Vince McMahon picking his people he wants to succeed from WCW. So Booker, he's getting the strap as opposed to, DDP earlier. So he's making a fool of DDP.
We have Booker T versus Edge. So it was really weird seeing Edge use Rob Zombie for his theme. Metalingus has been attached to him for so long that I forgot and had another theme.
Yeah, I did too.
So this is a match. The Edge wasn't with an execution. There was a fucked up Frankensteiner where Booker basically did a front flip onto Edge from the top rope. Booker did a spinner Rooney. Ross claimed to have done one on his front porch. Edge did an awful spinner Rooney after a spear. And Teddy Long was the referee.
I didn't notice that. But yeah, this was kind of just a nothing match. When you start to see, this pay-per-view was like 3.5 hours, maybe 4 hours.
3 hours, 40-something minutes, yeah.
So yeah, when you start to get that, you look at these segments like, yeah, maybe these are like parts we can cut out, and then we don't have a 3-hour show.
Well, what I'm digging is like some matches will be 3 minutes, some matches will be 6, and some will be 20, like the good matches. Seems like they're all 20 today. It's okay to have a short match.
Well, that's a whole nother thing. People are complaining about those lengths of pay-per-views again. But now they're saying they're too short.
Hurricane's back. Coach asked Hurricane a question. Hurricane answered. Molly Holly knocked Hurricane out with a fucking frying pan and won the hardcore title.
Kind of sexist.
How's that?
A woman using a frying pan?
Oh.
It's like natural to her.
So there's a Stone Cold Scott Hall video package. Starts off with Vince growling, "I'm going to inject the WWF with a lethal dose of poison." So I guess the NWO fucked with Austin. Austin fucked with them back. Hall challenged Austin to a match. "I hear you're the toughest SOB. Prove it." So we get Scott Hall versus Stone Cold. Typical Stone Cold match. Nash also came out with Hall. So it started off with Austin not caring if he has to fight off both of them. And Nash delivered the occasional cheap shot and exposed the turnbuckle. Pretty so-so until Austin hit a stunner. Nash ran around the ring, pulls out the ref, knocks him out. Then Nash goes berserk and just beats the shit out of Austin. Tells Hall to grab a chair. Nash holds Hall for him. Austin ends up kicking Nash in the dick and ends up stunning both of them. But there's no referee. Until this milquetoast motherfucker just comes sliding in the ring out of nowhere. He almost slid in and out, which would have been fucking funny. So he starts counting the pin, and then Nash destroys him with an elbow drop. And Austin dumps Nash and Hall out of the ring. Then a group of referees come out, and Nash could have easily dismantled all of them, but yeah, no more Nash. Austin and Hall fight some more. Hall does an ugly stunner to Austin, and the original ref comes crawling into the ring. For some reason, he has to crawl over Hall and Austin to do the count. So naturally, Austin kicks out, and then he wins with 2 stunners, then drinks a lot of beer after.
Yeah. Again, pretty good match. So when they were doing all the ref bumpage things, I was expecting, for some reason, Nick Patrick to come out as like one of the refs.
That would have been good.
But didn't happen. Turns out he was reffing like the next match too, so he was just right there ready to go. But he didn't do it. Overall, an entertaining match. I liked it.
It was just kind of there for me. It was interesting seeing Hall and Austin in the same ring. I don't know if they crossed paths when he was Razor and he was the ringmaster or some shit.
I think it was after that. Like Hall was already out of WWE at that point.
Okay. But yeah, just where they kind of left off to where they are at this point on their journeys. But yeah, Austin won. That's all you can hope for. Oh, and he's doing his what's by this point.
Yes. That was the other thing I needed to mention. The what chant is here. And to think that we're still dealing with that.
Yes, we are.
So it started back then. And I was like, did he think this what chant thing would be such a part of wrestling forever when he started that?
I'm sure he's happy about it.
Yeah, for him it's good, but
yeah,
not for us.
No. So they did a fan access package. Michelle had nice tits. Some stupid girl fan cried when she saw The Undertaker. Stacy Keibler was thrilled that thousands of thirsty virgins get to touch and fondle her bronze replica legs and ass. No idea why that's even a thing for a wrestling event.
I kind of didn't watch that access thing because it went on way too long. But yes, I'll tell you where my mind was. That first fan with the tits. I was like,
it was Michelle.
I wonder if I could find her on Instagram and what she looks like now. That's where my mind was. Did I search a little bit? Yeah, but I couldn't find anything.
Well, the Dudleys versus APA versus the Hardy Boys versus Billy and Chuck for the tag team titles. And Saliva sang the Dudleys theme. They danced with Saliva. Keibler was there, not looking bad. Billy Gunn went from the New Age Outlaws to Billy and fucking Chuck. So that was nice. APA got eliminated first via 3D, like right away. Hardy took his shirt off. The girl started screaming. Keibler gets on the apron and tries to tempt Jeff with her sweet, succulent ass. Then Hardy does a little dance, slaps Keibler on the ass, then kisses her, then shoves her violently to the floor.
He sure did.
And then the Hardys eliminated the Dudleys after a really long ass time. Obviously, it was to keep Keibler out there as long as possible, but like keep the Hardys in a position of strength or something. I don't know. But they were out there for a long time. And then Billy and Chuck won after Billy nails Jeff with one of the tag belts.
And it is worth to mention that they're using a song that will be rehashed later. Billy and Chuck. I didn't even remember this tag team.
Oh.
Yeah, and then when I saw them, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this.
They're Abomination. Infamous. They should have just shown Keibler doing stuff for 15 minutes. I think that would have been more fun to watch.
Fair enough.
Hall and Nash are backstage. They're pissed that Austin beat Hall. And Hall's like, he got lucky. Nash says that they're taking the loss out on The Rock later. Hogan, the leader of the poison that Vince injected into the WWF, slides in, says, I know y'all are angry, and I get that, but I gotta go do this out on my own to prove that I am the man. NWO style. Because that's how it goes. Hogan leaves.
Prime NWO.
Right.
Doing things on your own.
Right. They never have strength in numbers, the NWO. Hogan leaves, and then Hall and Nash say that they're going to get involved anyway. So Molly Holly's running. Christian closes the door on her face, and Christian wins the hardcore title and runs off. I got to be honest with you, I thought it was going to get a lot darker than that, especially the way he kneeled down and said, well. So we get yet another Hogan Rock video thing. Yeah, at this point, I'm like, I get it. It's supposed to be a big match.
Yes, they recounted the whole feud. I do say, though, I liked that every match on WrestleMania had like a story going into it.
For the most part, they do.
Or I could say maybe just now they're doing the video package for everything, as opposed to, because when we were early WrestleManias, it was like, I guess they're feuding.
Well, they would do the promo. Mean G would say, oh, Macho Man, you must be really mad that the Repo Man fucked Miss Elizabeth right in front of you. Oh, yeah, the Repo Man's going to get it tonight here at WrestleMania 3.
Yeah, but now they got the video packages. So I do like that. So this video package, and it's important for context, because this video package shows like how dastardly Hogan was with the NWO injecting the poison. There was one point where Hall and Nash were holding the Rock's arms, and Hogan hits him in the back of the head with a hammer. There's another point where I guess it's a continuation of it. They're taking the Rock to the ambulance because he just got hit in the back of the head with a hammer. And then Hogan drives a truck into the ambulance. So he was like so dastardly, Hogan was.
Good for him. For being dastardly, I don't know about necessarily injuring the Rock like that.
Well, it's context for what's about to happen. He was doing everything he could to be the heel in this match.
Well, the match is Hollywood Hulk Hogan versus The Rock. And it starts off, of course, with a lot of standing and just looking around and doing nothing, because both of these guys are the kings of that. And then they establish dominance where Hogan gets a surprising amount of offense pretty much throughout the whole match. Like, I feel like he's always the guy that's in peril and coming from behind, no matter whether or not he's the face or the heel. But here, he was just like the dominant force. And
True.
The fans went crazy for all of Hogan's antics, like the back scratch and the face bite in the corner. And Hogan teased putting the Rock through the announce desk, but the Rock stops Hogan, and he tries to clobber him with a chair. Thankfully, the ref pulled the chair out from the Rock's grasp. Then they get back in the ring, and Hogan sends the Rock into the ref. Like, so stupid. The Rock just charged at Hogan, and Hogan sidestepped him, so naturally he goes into the referee. So they fight for a while. Rock gets Hogan in a sharpshooter, but there's no ref. Then Hogan crawls to the rope, but there's no ref. Then Rock drags Hogan back to the middle of the ring, and he taps out, but there's no ref. Rock, finally realizing this, tries to revive the ref in a very aggressive way. Then Hogan uses the distraction to hit Rock in the nuts and deliver a rock bottom. And I thought he was going to do like that visual pin thing where while the ref was still out, he'd pin him and then just look confused and spread his arms out like he did. What WrestleMania was it? With Sid? Was it Sid? I don't know. He pinned somebody and he's like, come on. He's did 1, 2, 3 on the mat. Oh, come on. And he's fucking looking at the referee. He was the one that knocked out the referee, probably. Oh,
I
what's
remember what
going
you're
on?
talking about, but I don't remember what Mania that was.
But no, I was wrong. The ref slowly crawls and he starts counting the pin, but it's only for 2. Then Hogan takes his weightlifting belt off and wears the Rock out with it. Rock hits Hogan with a DDT. Then he gets the weightlifting belt and beats the shit out of Hogan with it. And there's one little moment where the Rock starts wailing on Hogan, and then he holds the belt up, and then he spits on the Hollywood part on it, and then whips Hogan one last time.
Mm-hmm.
He leveled up. And Rock hits a rock bottom, but it's only for 2. But Hogan starts hulking up. And this is weird, because normally he gets his ass beat for a while, and it's like, oh, Hogan's done for. But this, Rock hit a desperation move, which was the rock bottom. So Hogan hulking up from here it's just a little bit different than him just getting his ass beat throughout the whole match. And you thinking he's like, oh no, there's no possible way that the almighty Hogan can defeat King Kong Bundy now. And then he starts hulking up. But Rock is beside himself, knows he's fucked. After the shortest hulk up in history, Hogan hits the big boot, a leg drop, but that's only for 2. And the crowd went insane the entire time, even when The Rock kicked out. It's not like that exasperated noise that crowds make today when someone kicks out. They cheered that The Rock kicked out, even though they weren't cheering for The Rock necessarily. Because I felt like that was more of a pro-Hogan crowd, right?
That was 100% a pro-Hogan crowd.
But they still cheered when The Rock kicked out. Like, they weren't upset.
I thought I heard the boos that he kicked out.
They even said that. Like, there's some boos, but fuck them, they don't matter. And I thought it was funny how, like, the Rock Hogan of yesterday looks like Cody and Rock today, like body type wise. So I guess when you're a wrestler, the older you get, the more jacked you get. So Hogan tries another big boot, goes for a second leg drop, but Rock moves out of the way. Rock hits 2 rock bottoms, does a kip up, then a people's elbow, 1, 2, 3. And yeah, crowd was insane. They actually made the match. They were really excited for this. I kind of want to go back to the Raws just to see the build-up for this match. I want to see what I'm missing. Because just the idea of The Rock and Hulk Hogan on its face just doesn't seem exciting to me.
Well, I took this in the opposite direction. I enjoyed everything. I'm biased because, I'm a sports entertainer fan, so this was like the mecca of that.
Right.
I did have a question, though, because if you're a fan, if you're a smart fan, if you will, use insider lingo. And the lingo I'm going to use right now is audible. Because, as I said before, Hogan, he was doing everything he can to be such a dastardly heel, hitting him with a hammer, crashing into the into the ambulance thereafter. Like, he's trying to be a heel. He's trying to get booed. And then he gets into the match and he's over as hell. So much so, like Jim Ross kept saying, oh yeah, these fans are just feeling nostalgic. There were even some points he was like, it's a split crowd. Some fans are chanting for Hogan, some are chanting for The Rock. No, it was heavy Hogan, and they were booing The Rock. Even like towards the second half of the match, yeah. The Rock was getting booed, Hogan was getting cheered very clearly. So with all that said, would you think they may have called an audible and had Hogan win this match?
If they were going to do another match.
Yeah.
If the plan was only for one match, then no. Probably not. I mean, I guess for the crowd, if you want to send the crowd home happy, because I would say at that time you probably wouldn't expect Hogan to win. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, you didn't expect Hogan to win because,
Okay.
yeah, The Rock was like the up-and-comer. But it was clear that with what they were trying to do, they wanted Hogan to be booed. And it was
Right.
clear that they had expected it. So I don't know why they didn't. Like, everything after the match, it would have made sense still if he had won.
Hall and Nash, they come out, they berate Hogan for losing. And Hall's especially pissed off that Hogan shook hands with The Rock after. And he throws his toothpick in Hogan's face, and then they just beat the shit out of him. Rock saves him. And then Hogan and Rock fight off the NWO.
I don't know. I just thought they could have done that. And then all of it still makes sense. Like the posing at the end, Hall and Nash being like, you still do the handshake. Hall and Nash are still upset that he shook his hand.
Yeah, but
and
I don't
then
see.
Like, oh, you didn't need us? We'll show you.
I don't see why they would be pissed off if he won, though.
For the handshake.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean
That's
anything
what they
if
came
you
out
won.
there complaining about. They
Like,
didn't complain that he lost. They complained that he shook his hand.
Hollywood, man, you're such a classy guy. You whooped his ass and shook his hand after, Chico.
But what did Hall come out there saying? What is this? You shaking his hand?
Well, yeah, he lost.
He didn't say you lost. He never said that, though. He never.
Well, that's
said
implied,
you
though.
lost.
He came out because Hogan lost. If Hogan would have won,
there because Hogan. Oh.
Yeah, if
They're
Hogan
out
would
there
have
'cause
won, it would have
Hogan
been a
was
different story. It would have been all like, look at you. You're such a cunt. You shook his hand afterwards. You legend. You might as well fuck his wife, too, in front of him. But no, Hogan lost. So now it's like, oh, you lost, and then you want to fucking shake his hand on top of that? Fuck you, bitch.
Sportsmanship.
Yeah.
How dare you be a good sport?
Yeah, but yeah, it was a good match. I really wanted to hate it, too. It was one of those things that I went in actively just trying to hate, because it's one of those matches that people have been hyped up so much. It's just like that movie that people say, oh, you gotta watch this. It's so good. So awesome. You haven't seen this movie? What are you, living under a rock? Ugh. You suck dicks for a living?
And then you have to pretend to like it because, you don't want to not fit in.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what did you like about the movie? Tell me in grave detail. Well,
so they announced a SkyDome attendance record, 68,237. Good deal. So Christian's leaving the arena in a taxi, and he's celebrating his new title. And Maven sneaks up from behind him with a schoolboy, pins him 1, 2, 3. Then Maven takes the belt and steals Christian's cab. Now remember, Maven started off this cavalcade of retardation as the hardcore champion. So we're back to where we started. Nothing has changed. It's as if they just wasted our time with all of this.
Yes, they brought it back full circle, which is funny because, like you said, it's almost as if they could have saved all these. I lost count. Where were we at? 6, 7? These 7 segments of hardcore comedy or whatever you want to call it. They could have saved this. And this again ties into a 4-hour WrestleMania. Maybe you cut this shit out and then you don't have a 4-hour WrestleMania. I would have also, if I'm picking the women's match, I would have cut that out. No, I guess you can't do that. The Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match, I would have cut that out for sure.
I would have cut the women's match out. Kidding me? In fact, I tried to. I don't know why you brought it up. I want to cut this part out.
Oh, we don't have to talk about it too far.
I skipped it.
Oh, good. Then I get to review it. You know how that's going to go. So it was Lita, Trish, and Jazz. Triple threat match for the women's championship. The gist of this is Jazz wins off of a top rope fisherman suplex to, I think it was Trish Stratus, doesn't matter. And the highlight of this match is there was a point where Lita almost took off her shirt, but didn't for some reason. Because she used to take her shirt off like Jeff Hardy to.
She took her shirt off last WrestleMania.
Yeah, she takes her shirt off to do the moonsault. She started to do that, and then her shirt wasn't off. So much so I had to rewind it to figure out, wait, I thought her shirt was supposed to be off. And to the point where the fans were starting to chant of puppies, or we want puppies, I should say. And yeah, I don't know. This match followed the Hogan and Rock match. So you can imagine that there was no emotion going into the match from the fans or from the people watching at home, myself included, because I was emotionally drained. Yep.
Triple H versus Chris Jericho for the undisputed WWF title. So Drowning Pool sang Triple H's theme. I probably thought about this performance like you did when they did Tearaway, because it's just, yeah. Although Triple H's entrance itself was epic. My favorite part was when they cut to the band after they were done playing, and one of them was pointing at Triple H like, I believe in you.
Mm-hmm.
And Jericho
still not as good as the Dudley Boys entrance, mainly because of Stacy Keibler.
Well, of course. Jericho came out with the WCW and WWF titles, and Stephanie's with Jericho, so are her twins. This was around the time when Triple H had his quad injury and he came back. So remember when they did the surgery thing and got to see the rehab and shit?
Yeah.
So I think this was around that time. This is also around the time when JR just made him sound like the most invincible motherfucker ever. He was so tanned, he was like 2 shades away from being Ron Simmons.
Yeah, he was definitely tanned.
Especially his back. He was jacked too, Jesus Christ. No wonder he tore his quad. He didn't give a shit about Stephanie. He allowed Jericho to spear her. He also pedigreed her. They did a lion tamer spot on the announce desk because, of course, that's more devastating.
Of course.
Yeah, Jericho did a whole bunch of lion tamers, and I wouldn't say a whole bunch, but I think he did like 2 or 3. Triple H was able to fight out or whatever, but one pedigree, Triple H won.
And your new undisputed champion.
And we are starting the time where Triple H is the invincible warrior.
The Triple H era.
Yeah.
Of wrestling.
Where he's the game and he's that damn good. Where you get like rumors of WWE sending THQ memos of, well, we can't have Triple H in any position where he's vulnerable on your covers or in any of your artwork. I think they separated from them because of something like that.
You're talking about THQ, the video game makers, right?
Yeah.
And then they go to 2K, and then their games never the same again.
But that was WrestleMania X8.
Overall, had a pretty good time with this one.
It wasn't bad.
Like I said, there's some stuff that I could have done without. The hardcore segments, the women's match, unfortunately.
Don't say unfortunately. The women's match, because it's useless.
I say unfortunately because I'm not like support women's wrestling or anything, but when there's watch.
Well, when there's real women's wrestlers, like if it was Akira Hokuto or something, I'd get down with that. But where's fucking Trish Stratus, Lita, and the other one?
Jazz was the champion. And, I can also watch it with the volume off and get maximum experience.
Okay.
Hey, you want me to watch? That's what I gotta watch.
I don't want you to watch.
No, I'm saying.
It's also very hypocritical that you're like, I don't want to support women. I need my women's match on there. I need to bring it up and review it. I'll just watch it with the volume off. It's like masturbate.
There's no masturbate. It's just some women's stuff is enhanced with the volume off.
But yeah, this will be the last WrestleMania under the WWF moniker. So that
was good to know. And it's amazing we haven't gone to HD yet, too. That's another thing.
This is also the start of the brand split as well. After WrestleMania, Ric Flair and McMahon, they're vying for power or whatever. They decide that they can't coexist. So the only logical thing to do is to split SmackDown and Raw in their own separate brands.
Good for them.
Yeah. And yeah, Hogan turned face, obviously. And yeah, that was WrestleMania X8. And our next pay-per-view was at Slamboree 97. It's in Charlotte, North Kakalaki. Kakalaka. Ultima Dragon's facing Lord Steven Regal. Medusa's facing Luna Vachon. Mortis and Glacier are facing each other again.
Is it a martial arts match?
We're going to have to find out. Jarrett is facing Dean Malenko for the U.S. title. And Ming and Chris Benoit are facing each other in a death match. And Mongo's facing... this one's going to be a doozy. Mongo's wrestling Reggie White. And then the main event is Ric Flair, Roddy Piper, and Kevin Green versus Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Master 6.
Well, Flair did call for that last pay-per-view. And if you agree with anything, let us know in the comments below. If you disagree with anything, let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Follow us on all the social medias. Like buttons and shares and all the buttons on whichever platform you're on. And until next time, top guys.